Kanzhol, Kanzhal, Kanzhal. All these are the names of one North Caucasian plateau. There is a legend that the battle of Kabardians and Crimean Tatars once took place here. Kanzhol is translated from Turkic as bloody road. However, historical documents and excavations have not yet confirmed this version. Another possible version is because of the bloody footprints of cattle which wounded their legs on stones while being driven for grazing. The second name, Kanzhal, comes from the Kabardian Kanzhal, which is metal plate. Also, the Kanzhal stream flows along the gorge. The legends associated with the name of this plateau can be a topic for a separate video, so let's move on to our trip. Kanzhol is the highest plateau in Kabardino-Balkaria. Its height is slightly more than 2,800 meters. Many tourists compare Kanzhol to the most popular Bermamyt plateau. Indeed, both offer a wonderful view of the highest peak in Europe, Elbrus. There is a dirt road to the first and second plateaus, suitable even for entry-level SUVs. However, Kanzhol is 200 meters higher than its neighbor and closer to the main peak of the Caucasus by as much as 10 kilometers. But for us, the main distinguishing feature is the great tourist interest in the Bermamyt plateau. In good weather, tourist groups come one after another. People are lining up at the observation decks. They turn on music loudly. Tents are everywhere. Bermamyt is a popular place, and Kanzhol is a choice for introverts, I think, so we go there. There are three main paths to the plateau. First is from the village of Kamenomostsky, second is from Kanzhol, and the third is from the road to Giresun. The first two paths converge into one fairly traveled road, which rises relatively smoothly to a height of almost 3,000 meters. Any jeep will pass along this road in good weather. A pass from Giresun requires an equipped off-road vehicle and skills of driving on difficult terrain. Since we woke up on the Ulugishgit Lake, the shortest way for us was through Kanzhol. The road to the village is excellent, but a dirt road begins in the village. The quality of the road surface is quite acceptable, but the length of the road makes it very exhausting. All the way to the plateau we spent in dense fog. Sometimes the visibility opened 100 meters, but this didn't give a full understanding of the vastness around us. By the second hour of our journey, we arrived at the Kabardian Stonehenge. It is considered that in Soviet times this place was used for radar equipment. The ruins from these buildings have a very unusual shape, hence the name comes from. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we stopped on the highest peak of Kanzhol. The height is 2,800 meters. Up to Elbrus there is only a few tenths of kilometers, but it was almost impossible to make out anything 10 meters away. The fog was very dense and there were no signs of improvement in the weather. It was starting to get dark. The decision had to be made. The first option was to stay overnight and hope for good weather in the morning. The second was to descend to the valley and overnight near the Shadri lakes. Next evening we would have to be in Krasnodar, so we would not have any more opportunity to climb the plateau again. But Kanzhol overnight stay seemed to be very uncomfortable. The air temperature was +5 and would go down. The humidity was about 100%, and most importantly, there was a very strong gusty wind from which there was nowhere to hide on the flat top of the plateau. After half an hour of discussions and disputes, we tried to put up a tent a few meters from the road in a recess. The perimeter of the tent was heavily lined with stones, but it still swayed like a sail in storm. 2 months ago, when we were on the Bermamyt plateau, it was very foggy, windy and raining too. But by 3 a.m. an amazing panorama opened up. The clouds were carried away for the north and the entire Caucasian ridge stood at a glance under the mesmerizing starry sky. A few hours later, the snow-white slopes of Elbrus were illuminated by the first red rays of the sun. This time we hoped for something like that. Every hour at night, looking out of the tent, our eyes tried to find at least a small window in the haze. At 5 in the morning it began to dawn, but the fog didn't go anywhere. Its dense masses enveloped everything around. Our hope for a beautiful view faded with every minute as the mood in the group dropped down. But don't forget about the unpredictability of the weather in the mountains. At 5:30 in the morning, the clouds dropped below the plateau, revealing a picturesque view of the main peak of the Caucasian ridge. The picture was magnificent. Undoubtedly, sunrise in the mountains above clouds is one of the most spectacular sights on this planet. The fog stood very close to the high rocky ledges of Kanzhol, threatening to rise and hide us again in the endless milk. 2 hours later, the dense haze underfoot turned into small, separately floating clouds, and Bermamyt plateau appeared behind him. After breakfast, we headed back. The road plunged into fog, which dissipated only in Kamenomostki. If you want to go to the plateau on your own, take this trip responsibly. Special attention should be paid to the weather and your equipment. Take a look at the forecast for Kanzhol and Kamenomostki in advance. Keep in mind that at the top of the plateau, the average daily temperature is 10–15 degrees lower, and the wind is several times stronger than in the valley. You'll need to take comfortable shoes and warm clothes, raincoats, and a small supply of water and food with you. It is better to fill the car up to a full tank. Maps must be loaded in advance. On the way to the plateau, there will be many branches from the main road. Cellular communication doesn't work, and there is no one to ask. Therefore, we attach our GPS track to the description of the video on YouTube.